1991, Santa Ana, California. An ordinary apartment, a quiet night, until the footsteps began. Creaking stairs, whispers outside the window, and then a shadow. Not a person, not a clear figure, just watching. What David saw would follow him for years, and what touched him wasn't human. Now, let's hear this terrifying story from David himself.
So my story, it starts in 1991. It's in Santa Ana, California. We had just moved to the apartment that I grew up in. So I was about like 5 or 6. The 2-story apartment, we were like the only Hispanic family in this all white neighborhood. It was built like in the 50s. I think it was built for like a Marine base that was right up the road in Irvine. I think it was El Toro Airfield. Those apartment complexes that look like townhomes were built in the 50s. So they're old, really retro, but they're really nice back at that time. So when I started hearing noises, I think I was around like 6 or 7. That's when the first incident happened. I would just hear random noises. We slept on the 2nd floor, so we had stairs in our building. And so what I would start hearing at first would just be like if somebody was like walking up the stairs. It would creak. When someone walking up the wooden stairs, it has those old wooden stairs that creaks. And so that's what I would hear. So I'd wake up and I'd hear that. And I was young at that time, so I would just nod it off. I would acknowledge the noise, but I wouldn't really think of it too much. I just go back to sleep. And that's when the noises first started happening. The incident is a little more intense. I was about 9 years old. It was probably about 1 in the morning when I woke up. And at that time, we didn't have AC, so we would open up the windows to let in the cool air at night and that good stuff. And like I said, our apartment was 2 stories, so when I would open up the window, I wouldn't have that fear of someone going to come into the building. But behind our apartment complex, there was an alley. And it was at that time, the lights weren't that great. They were the old yellow street looking lights. And there was a wall there. And behind that wall, there was a gas station and a liquor store. You tend to hear, people talking at times and people rolling up at random times, bumping the music, getting gas. So you hear that stuff. And so I woke up, and naturally when I hear something, I go to the window and I take a peek. I move the blinds, I take a peek outside. I don't see anything, right? At first I don't see anything. Just say, whatever. I go back in and I lay down. Maybe about 5 minutes, 6 minutes later, I hear another sound. And so I go look. And at this time, like at the very, like where the light starts to like end in the blackness of the alley starts, like a black, it's like a shadow. And it's just like walking. And at first I was like, man, am I tripping? Or is that a shadow walking? Because it wasn't like a person. It was literally a shadow. And so I freaked out. I just said, okay, whatever. I let it just process in my mind. I went and laid back down and I left it at that. Maybe like a few months later, another incident happened. Same thing. I woke up around 1 a.m., but this time I woke up to the sound of people talking. And I'm talking about, it sounded like they were right by my window. Mind you, my bedroom's literally on the 2nd floor. So for it to sound like they're talking right by my window was very weird. So I woke up because it sounds like 2 people talking. So I walk over to the window again. I move the curtain. I take a peek. Nothing. There's nothing back there. There's like a nice little parking area that was behind the apartment as well with a light, an old school light. I looked in that area, scanned it, nothing. Looked at the wall, looked at the gas station area, nothing. So I'm just like, okay, maybe I just heard it in my sleep. I lay back down. When I did that, I heard the people talking again. But this time, it sounded like it was in the front of my apartment. You're going to ask, how can you distinct where it's coming from? I'm like, it's because when I heard it, it was very vague and it was coming through my bedroom door. And so I was like, what the heck? And so I opened my bedroom door. I walk down the stairs. I go and I look out the living room window. Nothing. Dark courtyard. There's no one out there. I'm just like, okay, I may just be tripping. So I go back upstairs, go back and lay down. And I lay down maybe probably another 15 minutes. And I'm looking at the ceiling. I'm just laying there looking at the ceiling, trying to process everything, trying to make it make sense. So I end up falling asleep, maybe for like about an hour. I was looking up again to the sound, this time to a baby crying. Now, I knew everybody that lived around that area. For 9 years old, my best friend lived next to me. I knew the kids that lived there. There's no baby. So I hear a baby crying. I'm like, okay, maybe it's coming from the gas station. Of course, I get up again. I take a peek. There's no one at the gas station. There's no one at the liquor store. There's just the normal cars that are there. Everybody seems to be asleep. It's like probably about what, 2:30 in the morning at this time. So I freak out, and before I lay back down, when I'm scanning the area, I looked over for some reason at the light pole or the little parking area, and I saw a shadow standing there. It was a shadow because the light is right there, and if there was someone there, it would have shined on you. It would basically let you see somebody. This is a damn shadow looking at me. I froze. I didn't know what to do, and for maybe 5 seconds, and then I just like unfroze and I just jumped back, and I didn't know what to think of it. So I laid back in my bed and I just said, forget it. I'm not going to mess with this. I'm just going to go to sleep. That's when I was 9. Then, between 9 and my teenage years, I would still randomly hear little sounds, like the people walking up and down the stairs, or even the pots and pans moving down the stairs, which I would go downstairs and look at that or listen for that sound and go into my kitchen, and everything's in its place. Nothing's been touched or anything, but that's what it sounded like. And I would tell my mom. I grew up in a very Mexican religious household. So my mom and dad very religious, went to church at 6 a.m. every Sunday. So I would tell her these things. And I don't know if she, for my protection or maybe just to keep me from being scared, she would just tell me, oh, it's nothing. You're just dreaming. But I would see it in her eyes that she would believe it. And to be honest, as when I did get older, I'd find out that she would hear stuff too. She just, of course, would not admit it to us. And it was just one of those things where she was just trying to protect us. And I'm the only boy out of the 4 children. She actually had 3 girls, so she didn't want to freak them all out. So when you have freaked out women in the house, it's never nice. Basically, after that, we fast forward to when I was about 15 years old. It was probably around Thanksgiving, and we had family over, of course. It was probably about 8:30, and I had went upstairs to go lay down for a bit because I had basically eaten a big meal. It's Thanksgiving, of course. I'm a big dude, so I like to eat. So I went upstairs, and I laid down on my bed, pretty much like on my stomach, like face first. And so as I'm laying there, I feel like two big hands push me into my bed. And when someone pushes you, you feel like that imprint of their hand. So when I literally went into the bed and I bounced up and I stood there for a second looking around. Okay, what the hell? And the light was off in my room. The only light was on was in the hallway. And so it's not too bright of a light. So it's dim and it just in the middle of the hallway on top of the stairs. So I looked around, looked out there, I didn't see nothing. I ran downstairs. I said, I don't know what the hell that was. I ran downstairs. My cousins are downstairs. Everybody's downstairs. I sit on the couch and I'm looking up towards the stairs. I'm freaked out and I'm trying to process what just happened. My cousin looks at me and he's like, hey man, are you cool? I'm like, I didn't answer him at first. I'm like, yeah. I'm like, I asked him, hey, did anyone go upstairs by any chance? Like my uncles or my dad or anybody? And he's, no one went upstairs. So I'm like, So he asked me again, are you okay? And I'm like, bro, I'm going to tell you something, but I don't know if I'm tripping. I don't know what, but I told him. And like, when he said that, when I told him the story, he was looking at me like wide-eyed. And when he was looking at me wide-eyed, I was like, why are you looking at me wide-eyed? He's like, man, I'm not tripping. I thought I was tripping. But when I was in your backyard and I looked up towards your bedroom, it looked like somebody was looking out the window. And so I thought that was you, but you just said you were laying down. So at that moment, I freaked out. I didn't know what to think. I told my mom, I told my sisters, I'm like, I'm done with that. At this point, I've been touched. And I didn't know how to feel about that. So I told them, and it was the biggest thing. And my mom's crying and she's praying and who knows what it is. Yeah, that was one of the biggest moments in that house, in that apartment. I actually joined the military basically after that, probably 6-7 years later. I was about 20, 21. Joined the military, left for 7 years. When I got out in 2013, I came back home. I lived in that apartment for a bit until I moved out, and then I moved back in 2015 with my parents. During that time, I was really into the paranormal stuff. I'm older. Obviously, I've had these things happen to me.
here in the United States as well as in Mexico. I have a fascination with it. I believe in ghosts. I believe in demons. I believe in all that craziness. So at that time, I was watching, I can't really remember his name on YouTube. I want to, but I can't remember. He would have this ghost box thing and he would talk to the dead, did like a voice thing, and you would hear him come through the voice box thing and he would talk to the spirit, whatever. I think it was like spirit box or something like that. So I would watch a lot of those videos. And so when I came, like I said, I've been living with my parents. I downloaded an app that this guy had actually created that was like an app version of the spirit box that he had, but it ran through your phone. Me being curious, George, I downloaded the app. I started it up. And right when I started it up, like the first thing that you hear through the little white noise, it goes like, I heard hello, like in a weird like voice, is hello. And I'm just like, okay, is this, I didn't ask anything yet. So I was like, well, maybe this thing is a joke. So then the next thing I think I hear like window, little girl looking, right? And I'm just like, what? So me being curious, I'm like, who's looking? And when I ask that question, like for maybe like 20 seconds, just I hear Mary. Mind you, my grandma's name is Maria. She passed away maybe like at that time, probably 7 years at that time. And so when I heard that, I just translated like, oh my God, is that my grandma, like girl looking? I'm like, is she here right now? Freaked out, turned off the app. I deleted it. I was just like, okay, never mind. I don't want to do this anymore. But I did end up doing something else. Basically, the last year I was living there was about 2019. I downloaded an app that records you while you're sleeping. I did this because I have sleep apnea and I just wanted to record like my snoring, what I do while I'm sleeping. And so I download this app that records that. It catches you when you fart, whatever, cough, snore loud, any noise that is made, it catches it. So I remember it was a Friday night and I was on the phone talking to which is my girlfriend at the time. She's my fiance now. I'll say my good night. Love you, babe, whatever. So I remember doing that. I started up the app and I put it right next to my bed. I can record, be right next to me. And so I let it go all night. So around about 6 a.m, I wake up, I check my phone to see whatever I caught, and I go through it. In the beginning, all you catch is like the normal, like cough here, about 3 farts. I think I catch the AC because I had AC at this time. It would turn on and turn off on the window. And then as I'm listening, I'm just like, okay, that's cool. Now, the last thing that it caught, that's the one that got me. It starts off, you hear like the AC turn on. So it goes like, that's a really calming sound. And then it sounds like my door opens and then it closes. And when you open, like these doors are old, they're old wooden doors. And when you open them, it rubs, so it makes a noise. And so I hear it 2 or 3 times and then the AC turns off. And then I'm just listening. And then out of nowhere, you just hear, hello. Like very faint, but you hear it. And when I heard that, my man, I deleted the app. I said, okay, this time I'm really done with this. I don't want to record anymore. The shadow, I can't explain that because it is an alley, but really people don't walk in that alley, especially in that neighborhood at those times. But the second time, it didn't make any sense because the light was like, if you stand right next to that pole where the parking lot's at and the light's on top, it's shining down. So even if you're standing right under that pole, the light would still hit you. And so when this light is hitting the shadow and there's nothing lighting up, it's literally a shadow. So it's like, I knew at that, I was like, that's when I freaked out. I was like, man, this isn't a person. I can't make sense of it. But I know for certain that if you were standing under there and if you were a person and someone saw you, they would be able to tell that you're a person. It was like literally, it's just a shadow. If it was like Peter's Pan shadow just standing there. I mean, like my mom and them at first, like she would, like I said, she freaked out because she's obviously heard the noises as well and experienced it. Because herself as well, she would get up at 3:30 every morning to go to work. Around those times, the wicked hours, she would always hear. She said she would always hear like scratching. She would hear people walking up and down the stairs. There's like a bathroom that's per se like under the staircase, and she would always. It always. She said it always sounded like if me or my sister were like going up and down the stairs, but like she would walk over there and there'd be nobody. So when she heard me at that moment at Thanksgiving time, she freaked out. And like my aunts were there and all them, they were like at first they were like trying to make sense of what's going on. And then as I told them and my cousin told them, they all freaked out because they felt like someone had sent something bad to our family, but I guess it was attacking me, I guess you can say. And like they started praying. It was all going down at night in the kitchen, and they started praying. And like my dad, at first he didn't want to believe it, but my mom told him, and then like my sister, I guess the same thing I've actually heard, but they never really experienced it like I did. So just when like all that broke out in the kitchen, it's more like my aunts and my mom that were like crying and praying, and then my uncles were just like talking about it. I don't know what, to be honest, I don't even know what they were really saying. But like my aunts were like praying for me and my cousin, and I know after that it happened, I had to go to church, and yeah, it was crazy. She would wake up at 3:30 and she would leave by 4:15. There was a time she said she was getting ready in the bathroom, doing her hair and her makeup downstairs. We had two bathrooms, one downstairs and one upstairs. And she was getting ready. And at this time, I want to say I was probably like 11 or 12. My neighbor next door, her name was Lori. She had recently passed away. And I guess when my mom said she was getting ready, the lights started flickering, right, in the bathroom. And that she was like, okay, Lori, like she thought it was her friend Lori was her neighbor. So she said, okay, Lori, I get it, you're here. And at the flickering just another time she said that she was same thing getting ready and that she heard like a little knock on the door, the front apartment door. She would hear like little knocks and that she would walk over there and look out and open the door and look out, nothing. That she would go back and start getting ready. She would hear knocks on the back glass door. Yeah, she would actually experience quite a lot too. I can definitely say it's not a demon because I feel like I've listened to enough stories, even like personally listened to stories about demons and messing with people. And like the incidents that happened with me didn't really seem like demon, I guess you could say. At least for me, it didn't. I didn't wake up with no scratches or anything like that or try to possess or anything like that. I feel like it was just a lost soul that for some reason was in my area and I just so happened to catch the attention of it, maybe. I don't know. I feel like it wasn't necessarily out to hurt me. I feel like more it was there to just maybe just letting me know that something's there or maybe someone's there. But it wasn't, I would say, evil. It was just, I guess, how can I say, surprising. Because everything that happened it surprised me. It wasn't like I was expecting it to happen. But as I did get older, uh, I guess I was expect the noises, but I never expected for it to actually touch me because I feel like that shadow was what touched me. I don't feel like it was just some random ghost or spirit or entity that just said, "There's a fat guy laying on it. I'm going to push him." I feel like what touched me in that shadow, I feel like they're connected. I wish I knew who or what or where it was, or like I really wish I knew who it was, to be honest, but I couldn't tell you. My mom was part of like this like church thing where they would bring these statues to your house and like you would host them for like a week. And it was a statue of the Virgin Mary and it was a statue of the baby Jesus. And supposedly, like the owners of these statues, like the guy, he can somehow see through the Virgin Mary statue. And it sounds funny. When I heard that too, I was like, "What?" But the only reason I can confirm that maybe he's not lying or maybe this is true is because the Virgin Mary statue had brown eyes. Right now, at times, these eyes would turn from brown to blue. And I don't know how, I don't know why, but I felt like maybe that's when supposedly he was looking through the statue. But I, I would see the eyes go from blue to brown. And I did recognize, I'm a type of guy that will recognize like little things at times. And with that also being said, I remember things in the living room would be moved. If we left like a ball on one side of the living room, when we woke up, it'd be on the other side of the living room. And so then my mom would tell us, oh, that's the baby Jesus playing with it, playing with the ball or whatnot. And I'd be like, yeah, I don't know if it's baby Jesus, but something was definitely playing with the ball. But yeah, other than that, yeah, I mean, I've had those statues, had that incident with those statues. We all noticed it. My mom noticed it. Everybody noticed it. My dad, and we would all trip out. I remember touching it just for like, maybe these are cameras or something, freaking out. But no, it was literally the ceramic. Like, I was like, man, this is weird. Like, it changed colors, and it was weird because like you touch the eyes, it was paint. So for it to change, like you're like, what? Like, how does that change? You know what I mean? Is it heat activated? Is it cold? Like, I'm thinking of all this stuff, and it's just, I don't know. All I know is it changed. I got like stories of stuff happened in the woods, especially when I lived on Fort Stewart. You're talking about parts of the woods that hosted little towns back in like the 1800s, where there's like random cemeteries all over these woods. There's just random cemeteries. And we've experienced a lot, as me, especially being out there when we train in the woods at night, we stay overnight. I've experienced a lot out there. But yeah, I have stories in Georgia. I have stories in Iraq. There's a couple stories in Iraq that happened to me and my boys, especially on the Euphrates rivers. When I swear I saw, which I think is a shapeshifter or a jinn. I think it was a jinn. And I have 5 people to verify that. It was 5 of my soldier buddies. And yeah, that story was actually pretty intense.